Hello students, I am Abhishek, your trainer. Here we are going to begin with Python. Now the very first question comes is what a Python is. Python is basically a programming language. Now, what is a programming language? Now before moving into the term programming language, let us understand the term language. Let us understand the term language. What a language is. Language is simply a medium of communication. Whenever you need to express yourself to some other person, you need a medium, and that medium is a language, right? Now, coming on to the other term, programming. Programming is the term derived from the word program. Now, to understand the term program, let us understand the term recipe first. Now, what is a recipe? Recipe is simply a mechanism to prepare a particular dish, right? What a recipe is? Recipe is a mechanism to prepare a particular dish, right? It also involves the ingredients that will be required and the steps that you will be following to prepare a particular dish. That is a recipe. The same thing is with program. Program is simply a solution to a particular problem. Whenever we get a problem, what we do is we follow few sequence of instructions. We follow few sequence of instruction to accomplish that particular problem, to solve that particular problem, and what we get is a result. So those sequence of instructions that we follow to solve a particular problem, those sequence of instructions, those collection of instructions are termed as program. And the process to develop a program is programming. And the person who develops a program is a programmer. So basically, these are the interrelated terms programming, and programming. Right now, combining both the terms, what is a programming language? So, before describing what is a programming language, let us understand one more thing. The thing is, here we are in IT field, we are learning Python, so we are here as a programmer, right? We are here as a programmer. Now, what is the role of the programmers? Programmer's role is to make the computer understand that how the problems are to be solved, right? Programmer's role is to make the computer understand that how a particular problem or a group of problem will be solved. So what programmers do is programmer write the instruction for the computers, right? Programmer writes the instructions for the computer, or you can say programmer teaches the computer that how this problem has to be solved. Now, once the computer understand the things taught by the programmer, now computer do that things whatever is being taught by the programmer at a very high speed and a very high level of accuracy and gives us the result, right? So basically programmer is the person who teaches the computer that how a task is to be done. So what a programmer is doing, programmer is communicating with the computer, right? And this communication is done in the form of program. This communication is done in the form of program. Now, how it is done in the form of program? Because programmer gives the sequence of instructions, feeds those instructions to the computer, and computer follows those instructions in a sequence and performs a task. Right? So, programmer and computer are in communication, and programmer is feeding the computer that how a particular task has to be done in a form of program, right? So basically, when we talk about programming language, it is simply a medium of communication between a computer and a programmer, right? So this is what a programming language is. Now, when we talk about a language, we have multiple languages around us. Okay, I'm speaking in English. Some person might be knowing Hindi. Some person might be knowing French. So different types of languages are available. Like the same here also, different types of programming languages are available. Now, when we categorize it in two parts. That is low level and high level. Now, low level does not mean that it is very much inferior and high level is very much superior. Low level simply means here is that whatever the instructions are given by the programmer to the computer are in the machine understandable format, right? whatever the instructions are given to the computer are in the machine understandable format or somewhat nearer to machine understandable format, right? So I have taken two statements. The first I have said that totally in the machine understandable format, and the second I have used is somewhat nearer to machine understandable format, right? So when the thing comes in totally machine understandable format, then the language is categorized as machine language. Means whatever the instructions are written, those instructions are written in purely machine understandable format, and those languages are termed as machine languages. And when we use certain other notations apart from machine understandable format, that those notations are termed as pseudocodes, right? Then those languages are termed as assembly languages. Fine. So basically, in low level, we have two categorization: machine language and assembly language. Machine language written in purely machine understandable format. Assembly language somewhat nearer to machine language, means it is using the machine format as well as some other notation, that is pseudocodes. Right. Now the problem here is computer understands its own mother tongue, that is machine format, and we are writing here in pseudocodes, means some instructions are given in pseudocodes that will not be known to the computer. So what we will be doing is we will be translating the assembly language written programs into machine language, and this translation is done by a language translator, and that language translator is assembler, right? So assembler is the language translator that translates the assembly language written programs into machine language. So this is what low level language is. Now, when we talk about the very positive points of the machine language, we have two very important merits. The very first one is in the terms of speed. Okay, because whatever the instructions are written in machine understandable format, it is written in machine understandable format. Computer understands this totally very well and executes those instructions at a very high speed and at a very high level of accuracy, right? So these are the two positive points of low level language, that the speed is very high and the accuracy level is also very high. But when we talk about demerit, the negative point of low level language is the efficiency of the programmer is decreased, right? The efficiency of the programmer is decreased. Why it is decreased? Because the programmer is supposed to give the instruction in machine understandable format, mean in the machine language. No, programmer has to learn the machine language first, and then he will be writing the code in the machine format so that the computer understands it and do the task. Right? So it is very much complicated for the programmer to write the code in machine language and assembly language. So a new language was introduced, new level of language, new type of language was introduced, and that is high level language. So in high level language, whatever the things we write, whatever the instructions we write following the general English. As it is said that English is an international language, so normally all over the world people speak English. So English is the language that is being followed in high level language, means the instructions are given in normal English, right? Now because we are writing the instructions in English, again the computer will not be able to understand. So in that case, what will happen? We will be again requiring a language translator to translate the high level language written programs into machine language, right? So here what we'll be having a requirement of a language translator that will be translating the high level language written codes into machine code. And here the language translators are compiler and interpreter, right? So the compiler and interpreter are the two language translators which are used to translate the assembly language, sorry, high level language written programs into low level, that is machine language, right? Now in high level language, we have three categories, that is procedural oriented programming, object oriented paradigm, and object based language. Now basically these are the three philosophies, right? These are the three philosophies, and the language that will be following one of the philosophies will be termed as that type of language. When we talk about language C, it follows the philosophy of procedure oriented programming, so it is termed as POP language. When we talk about C++, it is object oriented paradigm, it is object oriented programming language because it follows the principles of OOPS. When we talk about Visual Basic, it follows the principle of OBL, that's why it is termed as object based language, right? So these are the three philosophies, and depending upon the philosophies followed by a particular language, that language is categorized under these three philosophies, under these three categories, right? So, the very first philosophy was POP, then comes the second object oriented, and then comes the third OBE. Now, there was some problem in POP, that's why a new concept was introduced, that is OOPS. So, we must be aware of that what was the problem in POP, right? So, let us discuss the problem in POP. Okay. So when we talk about the problem in POP, okay, it is better to understand with an example. Suppose a person P has given a problem statement to us, right? A person P has given a problem statement to us, and now what we have to do, being a programmer, what we have to do, we have to analyze this problem statement and we have to write the solution, right? We have to analyze this problem statement and we have to write the solution. Now, when in procedure oriented approach, these programmers were simply analyzing the problem statement and were writing the solutions. They were not, these solutions were not specific to this purpose. Okay, these solutions, whatever the solutions were written, these solutions were not specific to this person. Means once the solution was written, it could be used by any other person. Now this was a problem. Why it is a problem? Because this person has given the problem statement to us and we are designing the solution for this problem. It should be designed in such a way that only the person who has given to us will be using it. But no constant was applied, and the solutions, whatever were written using POP concept, those solutions were available to all. Okay, so this was a problem. That is, the solutions were problem specific. We were just focusing on the problem and not on the person who has given us the problem, right? So, what we have to do is we have to write a solution for this problem. Okay, we have to write the solution for this problem, but in such a way that it should only be used by this person who has given to us. Right. So this we follow in OOPS. This is achieved via the concept of OOPS, that is object oriented paradigm. Another problem in POP was that whatever the solutions we were writing, we were not able to correlate it to the real world. Of course, correlation was not done to the real world. And the third thing is data was not secure because, of course, data was not secure because the data movement in the program was free. No constant was applied that when and how and who is going to access the data. The data was completely free floating around the program. So this was the problem in POP. That's why the new concept was introduced, that is object oriented paradigm. Right? So this is the end of this session. We'll be discussing object oriented paradigm in next video. Bye bye.